Welcome to my channel. On this channel, I like to talk about personal finance, debt payoff, and investing, things that relate to personal finance. So if you find that interesting or something of value to you, please consider subscribing. I'm a new channel and it'll help me out a lot. Today, we're going to talk about the 6 things that you want to do whenever you get paid. Ryan Scribner recently made a video on this topic, and I found a lot of great points in his video, and I just wanted to add a little bit to it. So I took inspiration from his video, and I'll put a link in the description below to give him credit on that. So today we're going to talk about the 6 things that you want to do whenever you get paid. I wrote a blog post about this as well, so if you are interested in reading a blog post about that, then the link will also be in the description below. So the very first thing that I would say is most important whenever you get paid is actually something that's going to happen before you get paid. So you want to have a goal of contributing around 6 to 15% of your pay into your 401k if your employer offers that. So a good rule of thumb with that is 6 to 15%. And if you feel like that is just way too much and you cannot contribute that great of an amount from your paycheck every week, I totally get it. I've been there. One thing that you should consider is at least trying to do your employer match on your contributions for your 401k, because it's free money, and who doesn't like free money, right? I mean, you want to take advantage of that, because that is more money that's going into your account that you're going to be able to really gain that compound interest effect on. And compound interest is one of the best things that you can ever experience in your benefit. And it's also one of the worst things that you can experience in your not in your benefit. So you definitely want compound interest to be on your side. And contributing to your 401k is one of the great ways to do that. So that's the first step. You want to make sure that you're contributing to your 401k and getting as much free money from your employer as you can if that's offered. Your second step is going to be pay yourself first. So this is a principle that I took out of the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. And I have a link in the description below if you'd like to read it. So essentially what it means is that you don't want to end up with all of your money gone at the end of the month. So typically what I've experienced in my life, and what I always thought to be true before I read this book, was that you pay your debt, you pay all your bills, and then at the end of the month, whenever you say, okay, whatever I have left at the end of this month, I'm going to go and I'm going to put it on my debt, or I'm going to put it in savings. And that never ends up happening, right? Like, this is something that I'm sure has happened to you. It's happened to me, where you're like, I'm going to definitely put away some money at the end of this month and it's going to be great, right? It never happens. So the important key to this is whenever you pay yourself first, you're guaranteed that you're going to try to save that money, right? So what I like to do is I'll take my paychecks and I will take out all of my expenses. And there's some more expenses later in further steps that you're going to incur that you need to make sure that you account into this as well. But you want to take all of your expenses that need to come out of that paycheck for that week, and you want to subtract it from your pay. And whatever you have left at the end of that, you either want to put that towards debt, or you want to put that into savings. You want to put it to whatever your financial goal is at that particular moment. So it's really important that you get at least $1,000 in your savings account for an emergency fund. And it's really important to have this money set aside in case something like your hot water heater goes out, or like what happened to me the other day, my check engine light came on and now I need a new O2 sensor. And that can be kind of an expensive fix. So you want to put aside money so that you have money that you can use to pay for expenses that come up like that, so that you're not using credit to pay for these things, because it costs you way more money in the long run to use credit to take care of problems that you really could have just used your emergency fund for. So you want to have at least $1,000 in your emergency fund, because that's usually enough to cover most expenses. And if it doesn't cover all of the expense, it covers a really big portion of the expense. So it's good to have that set aside in case an emergency does arrive. So in case an emergency arises. So you want to make sure that you're only spending that money on actual emergencies. You don't want to get like, oh, the Black Friday TV sale, you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that you're using it for your emergencies. You also want to be sure that this money is liquid. So liquidity basically means that you have the ability to get to your money quickly. So you don't have to wait a period like 5 to 10 business days and all of that jazz before they'll give you your money. That is not considered to be liquid money. So you want your money to be able to go and say, hey, I need my money, and they give it to you and be done with it. So that is what liquidity is. Another thing that you need to consider about your money in your emergency fund is that you want it to be sitting someplace that's going to yield you some interest, right? So inflation is approximately 2% per year. So if you have your emergency fund sitting there in your account in like a traditional bank, for instance, like a brick and mortar bank, you're going to lose 2% per year due to inflation. So inflation is a loss of your buying power. So for an example, like bread used to cost 30 cents and now it costs $1.20. Gas was 85 cents back in the day and now it's like $3 a gallon. Do you know what I mean? So inflation is eating away at your money's power, essentially. So you want to be able to combat that a little bit. And the best way I have found to do this is to use a high interest savings account. Typically, you would find these through online bank sources. Some examples would be Ally Financial Bank, CIT Bank, Charles Schwab, and maybe some others. But the reason why these banks are capable of giving you such a great interest rate on your money is because they don't have all the overhead costs that a traditional bank would have. That is approximately 3 to 6 months of your total expenses saved up into this emergency fund. And that should be your goal after paying off debt. So here's what you should do. If you have $1,000 set aside in your emergency fund first, then you want to pay off your debt. Okay, with the exclusion of your home. So the home's a little bit of a trickier debt situation because it just depends on how long you intend to stay in your home, your mortgage situation is, things of that nature. So you want to pay off all of your high interest debt, all of your debt, student loans, credit cards, car loans, things of that nature. You want to pay off these debts first, and then you want to go and try to get 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds put away. And that should be your primary goal, is to get the debt paid off and your emergency fund set up. After that, then we'll get into it. So after you pay yourself first, then I want you to go to the grocery store. I want you to go to the grocery store because it is so much cheaper to cook your own food. I mean, whenever you go out to eat at the restaurants, it kills you. It just kills you financially. So I know that it's really, really hard to do this. I have kids, I was working a full-time job and before I had my second kid, and I totally get it, man. I was exhausted when I came home from work. I did not want anything to do with cooking dinner. I don't really like cooking anyway, and adding on being exhausted from work and just having a long day, and I get it. I totally get it. So here are some things that I did to really save myself some time and some hassle whenever it came down to cooking at home. So I swear by my slow cooker, my Instant Pot, and double batch cooking. So those are my 3 ways that I really like to save time and energy when it comes to cooking at home. So I put together a little chart that, a little graph for you guys, table, and I love tables. So I put together a little table for you guys to demonstrate just how much cheaper it is for you to cook at home instead of eating out. So let's pop over here and we're gonna check it out, okay? Hopefully you guys can see that okay. So what I've done here is I made, I took pretty cheap meals that you can have pretty cheap meals eating out, because I shop at Aldi, and Aldi's a really cheap grocery store. So it wouldn't really be very fair for me to, to do a steak dinner and then compare it to Aldi's shopping prices. So what I did was I just took like cheap things that you could order out, and so that it would be a little bit more of a fair comparison. So sausage egg muffin with a hash brown and coffee. It's gonna cost you $7.25 in the morning. And then if you cook it at home, you're looking at about $2.22 a meal. Okay, that's pretty good saving. And then grilled cheese sandwich with fries and a medium drink. You pick that up at lunchtime. It's going to cost you around $5.48. And at home, you can do that for as cheap as 64 cents a meal, because you're reusing the cheese from the that you purchased for these meals up here, right? So 64 cents a meal for this, and that is exact comparison. So grilled cheese, fries, and a drink. And then you have chicken pot pie, which you could order at like a sit-down restaurant, and that's going to cost you about $8.68 a meal. At home, if you cook it yourself in the casserole form like I do, you're looking at $1.39 a meal. Now I'm based in Ohio, so your cost of living could be a little more expensive where you are. It just depends. But here in Ohio, this is pretty average cost of living. So I took the numbers and I took it over a 5-day time period. So if you had the exact same meals, which I know is completely never going to happen. I would never eat the exact same thing over and over again every day for every meal. But for demonstration's sake and ease of use, I decided to just keep it all the same. So if you did this every day for 5 days, you're looking at a total cost of $107.05 that you pay for your food consumption every day. Now, turn around and use home cooked meals, and you're only spending $21.25 in that same 5-day time period. So imagine saving $86.25 in a 5-day time period. That is insane, right? That's a big savings. Imagine if you did an $86.25 savings all year long, every week, right? That's $4,485 that you're putting away, that you're spending on food whenever you don't need to spend it on food, right? So it's really important that you cook at home, because it's going to save you so much money. Trust me. Okay, we're going to put this away and we're going to get back over here so I can look at my notes. Now that you've got your $4,485 that you've saved over an entire year's time span, unbelievable, right? Now your next step is going to be to fill your car up with gas, okay? So you want to fill this car up with gas as soon as you get paid, because the last thing you want to do is go out with your friends over the weekend, and then Monday rolls around and you hop in your car and you remember, oh crap, I'm on E, I've got somewhere to be, and I don't have money for gas, which means I'm not going to be able to get where I need to be all week. And it just like comes and it just crashes down like a ton of bricks, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Right? This totally happened to me when I was younger, and it only happened once because it was miserable to deal with. So you definitely want to make sure that you're getting gas put in your car to make sure that you're going to be able to have that money set aside. And if you get paid bi-weekly, you want to fill up your gas tank, but you also want to make sure that you set aside that money in cash in a drawer or somewhere in a jar. I like to use a jar, so like clear jars, because it's really visual and it makes you really be able to see what you have left. But you also want to put your gas money that you need for the following week away too, because you don't want to get stuck. Oh, last week I had gas. Yeah, because I put gas in my car when I got paid, but then what? I don't have gas this week, right? So you want to make sure that you also set aside the money that you're going to need for your gas for next week. The next thing that I want you to do is to pay off debt, right? You've got to pay off debt. It is a guaranteed rate of return. A lot of times people will ask me and they'll be like, well, should I pay off my debt or should I invest the money? Because if I invest the money, I could be making money. If I pay off debt, then I'm just spending the money and paying off my creditors. But you have to look at it this way. Whenever you pay off debt, it's a guaranteed rate of return, right? So when you pay off your debt, you're gonna save yourself so much money, right? You have to look at it as the interest rate that you're paying to your creditors, but also the fact that you're paying that interest rate, and then you have to look at its effects on what you're not saving for your future, and all of these kind of things need to go into that equation. And really, it's very, very hard to find a guaranteed rate of return on any investment. But what you want to do is you want to pay off your debt. And there is a bunch of ways to do this, right? So I wrote an entire blog post on the snowflake technique, and that is going to be a technique that you're going to want to use if you're sitting here and you're saying, that's all great, lady, but I've just gotten done with all your steps and there's no money. How do you expect me to pay off debt? I get it, okay? And I was totally there. So the snowflake method, basically what that is it is a method of paying off debt where you use any money you run into to use it towards your debt. So say you're going through an old purse and you're going to try to sell it to get some extra money, and then there just also happened to be a $20 bill in there. So now you're going to use the money that you sell that purse for plus the $20 that you found in it and put that towards your debt at the end of the month, right? Your debt paid off. And eventually you'll be able to move into the snowball method, which is the next form of paying off debt. And what that is whenever you have a little bit more money every month that you can put onto it, you can put the amount that you have, like say you have $100 extra a month. I mean, I know that not everybody's going to have that, but sometimes like for instance, now we've finally gotten out of the negatives to a point where we are able to put like about $100 a month onto our debt. So what we're doing is you take the smallest balance it's owed. So like say you got a $2,000 bill, a $5,000 bill, and a $10,000 bill. You're going to take that $2,000 bill and you're going to add that $100 a month to the minimum monthly payments while you're making all of your minimum monthly payments for everything. Then you want to add that extra $100 every month until that debt's gone. And then you take that minimum monthly payment plus your $100 and then you add it onto the $5,000 debt. And you just keep doing that and it keeps building and building and building until your debt are paid. The avalanche method of paying off debt, which is the next method that we're going to talk about. What you want to do is you want to get rid of that debt, disregard the balance, right? You don't care what the balance is. If it's a $20,000 balance, but it's the highest amount of interest rate, you're still going to focus on that debt. The thing about the avalanche method is that it's the most cost-effective way of paying off your debt, but it also can be discouraging to not have little wins like you get with the snowball method. So if you think that sticking to it will be difficult if you're not getting some victories, then I would suggest using the snowball method. The final thing and the sixth thing that you should do whenever you get paid is invest your money. Now, I just want to start out by saying I'm not a financial advisor, and anytime that you're going to make investments and things of that nature, you want to make sure that you're speaking to a financial advisor about this before you do it. This is typically what I would do, okay? I would pay my debt off first, okay? And that's because that's going to be a guaranteed rate of return. A lot of people wonder whether or not they should pay off debt or they should invest. And the answer is pretty much always pay off your debt, right? The only exception to that sometimes is your mortgage, and that's a really complicated topic that's really for another video. But yeah, so we'll save that, save paying off your mortgage for another video. But comment below if you think that's something that you'd be interested in learning about, whether or not you should pay off your mortgage. Okay, so if you guys want a video on whether or not you should pay off your mortgage, go ahead and leave me a comment below so that I can see if that's something you guys would be interested in. I personally like how Warren Buffett, he invests. It's kind of a set it, forget it kind of thing. It's really great for newer investors. And it's wonderful that you can find low-cost index funds that mirror the S&P 500 really closely. So it's not the S&P 500, but what it is it's an index fund. So, and they invest in companies that are found on the S&P 500. So a Vanguard 500 index fund, that's a really good one. The ticker number letters are VFIAX. So this is going to be a good index fund for you to dollar cost average, which is for another video, but basically it's buying it whether it's high, whether it's low, and then in the long run, your dollars will average, the cost that you're paying for the index funds will average out over the life of your investing life. That is it for the video today. If this video gave you value, I'd really like it if you could consider subscribing and giving me a thumbs up and comment below anything that you think that you'd like me to do a video on. So it's a really new channel and I'd love to be able to put out some content that you guys would really like to watch. Okay, so just comment below if you think that there's any topics that you would really like based on the personal finance niche. That's the video for today. Until next time, live your best life.